Hey guys, welcome back to the video. Today, our monthly testosterone talk is going to be about what to expect in the first 10 weeks of taking testosterone or being on an HRT, which is, starting testosterone at your prescribed level, your HCG and your Remedex. Typically, that's the package. What to expect in your first 10 weeks, especially for somebody who's extremely low, and you just kind of what the effects are going to be, what the side effects are going to be, and the benefits that you're going to start to feel, and what people are going to notice around you. But before we get into this, and I introduce my guest, remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell. I think it's over here now. Yeah, subscribe, bell. So that way when these videos go live, you can know about it and YouTube notifies you. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce you to Mel Chansey, who was, if you guys don't know, there's a podcast, White Back. I think he was the youngest Hell's Angel president up in Chicago of that chapter. Ended up spending 9 years in prison for some stuff you can imagine. And then we also have Sydney Gordon, who is the CEO of Core Medical Group, who's the guy that I work for or work with. And they prescribe all of my package that you guys hear about all the time. Yeah, that's that.
All right, cool. So yeah, I'm good, Nick. I'm cool. By the way, you're turning into quite the model on social media. I wanted to tell you.
You're just catching up to that.
I am, dude. You're a fucking good looking guy these days, man.
He's taking the beard. He got the long beard gone. He's like the Dude,
I saw a picture of him today. I'm like, wow, he's a handsome looking guy. Keep him away from my girl. Look at that
guy. When are we doing? October 1st? Yeah, we're launching a campaign for children's cancer October 1st. It'll be the first time that I shaved my beard off since 2012. Wow. So if we raise 10K on like the crowd rise thing for St. Jude's, and then I will shave November 1st, and then we'll go into no shave November to continue to raise money for St. Jude's.
Oh, cool.
And then 10% of our So at Johnny Slicks, we have 2 beard products. Out of like 40 products, we have 2 beard products. 10% of the profits from those 2 products will also go to St. Jude's.
So can you send all that to Kaylin so we can, even Johnny Slicks product, I'll push all that through Core?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that we get like 9,999. I'd be like, well, I don't have to shave, guys, but we're going to donate all this money anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you'll hit that in the first couple of days, dude.
You think?
Yeah. Just have you shave? Fuck yeah, bro.
Some asshole is gonna be like,
it's only like $10 a person. It's $5 a person with your
some rich asshole is gonna be like $5,000.
Yeah. For sure.
Maybe I'll do it.
I haven't seen this naked face in a long time. It's gonna be, last time I shaved all the way off, we were in Afghanistan, and you grow your beard out, you grow your hair out, and you're operating that environment. Then you got to go home where you shave when you're done, right? Like when you're done operating, and then you go back to the other base, you shave when they don't see you anymore. And dude, it was an emotional thing. I'm not going to name his name, but I had a friend cry, straight up cried.
What, because you shaved his beard off?
You look at yourself in the mirror, you look like a baby. You're just like, I just shaved off every ounce of manhood that I had. And you ever seen that meme where it's like he's like a real tough guy and he's like shaving, he puts a towel on, and it's like it's a baby.
Yeah.
It's a baby face, yeah.
That's what it feels like. Anyways.
I've had facial hair for so long I wouldn't remember it without it,
Yeah. So I already did the intro here. So I introed you guys. Mel, I gave for those that did not catch our podcast together about your background and some other stuff. I did I introed that, and then Sydney, on this channel, I don't think you need an intro anymore. You're just the dude. Everybody should know who you are at this point. Yeah. But Sydney is the CEO of Core Medical Group, and big thanks to him for doing what he's doing there. And so I teed it up. So this whole webinar is going to be about your first 10 weeks on HRT. And for those of you that don't know my story, go back and catch the one that we all did with Josh Hansberger and I and Sydney. We talked about me coming out of the military, realizing that I have a low T problem, and then trying to have a kid, And then Josh talking about thinking that he was good. And so he just came off by himself and his whole life went to shit. And then, us trying to have a kid and then me coming off. And that was just horrible, which I'm going to throw a bone out there. You don't have to come off testosterone to have a kid, right, Sydney?
Amen.
And Josh and I both did that. And I wouldn't recommend that to my worst enemy. That was horrible. I'd rather just beat an enemy's ass than tell him to come off testosterone for 4 to 8 months. So, because the ass beating you recover from a lot faster.
Yeah.
Anyways. So that's kind of the tee up. And then let's get into, my thought is let's get into some signs and symptoms of low T first. And then we kind of talk. Then once we get on, we can talk about the process and what that looks like.
So Nick, would it be okay if I threw this out there, kind of talking about like our questionnaire, kind of what you expect when you speak to a patient coordinator first, and like kind of the things that they kind of ask you in order to understand what your goals are, what your needs are, and what your symptoms are?
Absolutely.
So I'm figuring that we'll be moving forward here. I'm Sydney once again, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. I have an array of staff at Core Medical, ranges everyone from assistants, bookkeepers, HR, and then we have our patient coordinators who are on our front lines. You have a managing partner, Mel, here with you that kind of just has such a huge array of audience, just like Nick does. Very similar, two different worlds, but they do the same stuff. They just drive a lot of traffic, change a lot of lives. They're on the front line. You can get in touch with both of them. You can chat with both of them about hormones. Mel spends quite a bit of time with every patient that he passes off to Core just to make sure that they are comfortable and that they understand everything. So he'll get into kind of what he does. But when you call Core Medical and you get a patient coordinator on the phone, they're going to start off with some real basic stuff. What's your age? What type of work are you in? Have you had induced trauma? Are you under massive stress? Are you trying to have a kid? It's just quite an array of questions that we go through. And it's really important that, everyone's answering those questions is honest and giving us as much information as possible, right? So that we can troubleshoot a lot. Because at the end of the day, prescribing medication has a lot to do with symptomatic things, not just blood work. So just because your blood work might say it's perfect, you could still be symptomatically having issues that we can treat. So blood work is 100% one of the most important things. The two guys on the call with me right now, the Zoom call, both say, get your blood work done, get your blood work done. I do the same thing, but symptoms are super important there. So Mel, when someone comes aboard with you, what are the type of things that you're kind of driving home off the bat? So I'm not kind of
speaking on that, brother, on the symptoms here. So let's be honest. I mean, the blood range for testosterone in the draw is now this year is from 290 to 950. I mean, I'm going to date and go way back when I've seen the top of the blood range used to be 1300 back in the day. So they've lowered the blood range and the levels down. But just look at that range. So when a patient comes to me and says, I got my blood work done from the conventional doctor and I'm at 310 and he tells me I'm good, but he's not listening to my symptoms and I'm not getting anywhere and I'm frustrated. And I said, well, right, look at that whole range. You're 650, 700 points off of the top of the normal, right? That range is like the cable people, right? We'll be at your house from 8 to 8. Well, thanks for the you know what I mean? Sit here all day. So anyways, when you get a patient that's telling you about his symptoms and stuff and his blood range comes back 3, 4, even 500, 6. I know our great doctors will treat up to 600, 650 even. Getting you to that top end of that range is so important, as Nick, you found out, said you've been doing this forever like me. So taking that patient and getting that testosterone up to that peak point, it's like horseshoes, the closest you could get to 950. Then taking that estradiol of theirs and putting it in perfect place and the FSH and LH. It's amazing to see. We talk about, what is the patient going to expect in the first 10 weeks? What is the patient going to feel in the first 10 days? Because that's how quick the patients call me up and say, wow, Mel, we're feeling it immediately. You know what I mean? So the hormones work in the body fast, when you're taking the injectable testosterone and taking the anastrozole, which is the antiestrogen, the HCG for the testicles. boy, that synergistic effect is right now. And in the first 10 days, they're calling me back up. Thank you guys. I'm feeling so great. So it's important, to tell our patients. I tell them that, you're going to feel it immediately. This is pharmaceuticals. This is a medication that's going to get you. This ain't no protein powder where we used crap and these guys these are the real deal medications, So it's important. We walk the patients through, like Sydney said. You come through me, I'm on the phone with you 20, 25 minutes, somebody that comes through me through my social media, because I want to make sure they really understand. Our patient coordinators are in that office. They're amazing. They're busy. So I give them the whole lowdown. So by the time I give them to my patient coordinator, he's just got to go through the logistical steps, dot the I's, cross the T's, and there they are, So
the what I typically get, especially in the veteran community, is, and it's across the board, but obviously I'll have a lot of vets that follow me, this is the one thing that I get the most, and Josh and I touched on it, is the fog. Mel, do you ever have that? The fog. They feel like they're just living in a fog.
Oh, the brain fog, you call it.
The brain fog. Like they're just...
Not because they smoke too much weed, Mel.
Right. That's what I was wondering at first. I'm like, no, sometimes I'm foggy.
It's not the weed thing. That's a different kind of fog. But so they talk about how their whole life is just foggy, and they don't have the drive that they once had. And a lot of them just say, "Oh, it's age." Yeah. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm in my late 30s, my 40s, or my 50s, and they're like, I guess it's just age. So this is just part of it, right? You just get tired and foggy as you age, which is, I think, complete bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah. And Sydney, you said the same thing. You said, man, you would not be able to accomplish what you've accomplished in your life if you allowed those brain injuries to affect you and not be on HRT yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I've been, I had a pretty bad accident back in the day, and that's really when I knew I had to go on to HRT. I've been on HRT since young, and since I was young. And I mean, despite what my fiance might say, I'm pretty sharp. Like, I'm very quick, and I just let her win arguments. I mean, hormones, I'm telling you right now, they're adding 4 hours to your day. Your cognizant level is going through the roof. I mean, can you imagine if the three of us were not on hormones, we would not be on this call right now.
No, I wouldn't have, my business wouldn't be what it is today. I would not have the outreach and the effect that I have. I mean, it would just be, just that short amount of time that I came off so we could do IVF was, brutal. I felt like I was failing my team. My brain couldn't keep up with, I couldn't do what I normally do.
So Nick, your business team. Okay.
Yeah.
So did they notice a difference?
Absolutely. In my productivity, my mood, honestly, I feel bad, but the way that I treated a lot of people.
Oh, that's a big thing, man.
Yeah. And I get that. I get people messaging me too. It's like, I snap at my kids, I snap at my wife, and it's like, this is not who I am. It's not me.
Well, the cool thing for me to see, and I've known it a long time. I've been on hormones since I've been, 19 years old with the bodybuilding and the wrestling and everything. So, but when we have a patient that comes in that is not interested in doing any cardio, they're not interested in the fat loss part of it. They don't go to the gym. They might be a banker or a lawyer or whatever. When they feel that difference in the cognizance and that brain fog gets off them and that energy, I have a lot of business people that come in as my patients and stuff. And, they don't tell me the first thing, like, oh my God, thank you. I'm pounding my wife up. I'm running around crazy and stuff. They tell me, man, Mel, I've added 4 or 5 hours to my day. I'm not falling asleep in the afternoon no more. My business is starting to escalate from my cognizance, like you said, how you're trying to run successful businesses or working all day when you're getting up in the morning brain fogged and 3 hours through your day, you're just living on caffeine and everything to get you up like that, It's amazing.
And the crazy part is people are like, oh, are these hormones bad for you? No, the 9 cups of coffee, the Adderall, and the energy drinks might be a little bit worse. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's an issue, dude. Like, that's when you're hammering that amount of coffee a day and energy drinks and that sugar, constant sugar. I mean, you're stroking out from that way before, someone abusing testosterone is going to stroke out. And it's the fact. It's a real fact. So
good thing that you just brought up, Sid. Let's play into it real quick. So I have people that the patients will call me up and say, is this safe for me? And I said, yes, because you're bringing your hormone levels into the range where this FDA is still keeping them, which I say is on the low side of everything. They're telling guys at 300, you're okay, to 950. That's low to guys like us, but still you're doing it safely. You're staying in that range. I'm with me, a couple of years ago, I had the stent in the artery blockages and stuff. My cardiologist said to me when the time I went in, he said, Mel, why is your testosterone levels at 200 and your estradiol, which is the estrogen guys, which they don't want you over a number 44, at 120? Your partner's in a hormone company. What's the deal? And I go, well, I went off in the last 7 weeks, doc, because I didn't know what you were going to say with this whole stent thing. And he goes, no. By all means, I want you keeping them hormones in them in check range. He said, when your estradiol's high like that, your testosterone's low like that, then you got to start worrying about prostate stuff and all the issues that comes with that. He goes, by all means, and I take a half a cc of testosterone a week, and that gets, I just test that out at 875. I'm golden at 51. So I tell the patients, get that out of your mind that you guys associate testosterone with steroids. That's an old fallacy of, the old times. I'm taking steroids. No, you're not. You're taking something to bring your hormone levels in that range where you need them. Now I tell them, now you start throwing in Decas and Anavirus and everything else. Now you're taking some steroids, but so they come to me and they don't really understand what that's going on. They tell, oh, my wife won't let me do it because it's unsafe. So you got to get people that don't know the hormones past that point where it is very safe when you're doing it under a doctor's care and a supervision, and you're not, taking 5 cc's a week like we all used to in the day, So it's very important that the viewers
monitoring blood
understand.
work too. I mean, when you're doing things properly, you're monitoring blood work. You're in a safe place, and I mean, we're monitoring your blood work's monitored way more when you're on hormones than when you're not, right? So yes. We're looking at things in deeper detail more constantly for all of our patients, and I mean, it's super beneficial. I think now I haven't run into someone on the phone that has called it steroid abuse in probably 2 years. Now it's just, hey man, I need testosterone. I want it. Can I have it? Like, people are really have understood that when you're in your late 30s, early 30s, depending on what your 20s look like, and in your 40s, like, it's a real thing now. It's a real thing.
Two things that you guys brought up. Well, one, I want to talk about, and I don't know if you guys can speak to it or not, but the HDL and LDL thing, because he mentioned something about that. And so I want to get to that. But before we do that, can you talk about the depression level? Because I wrote that in my book about being depressed, and how one of the ways that I kind of came out of that was when I finally got linked up with the doc and I going on, it kind of brought me out of that fog, and I wasn't like depressed and sad anymore. I had an outlook on life. Can you talk about that?
I'm going to touch on something first, and then I'm going to let Mel spin from that. Okay. I have a lot of guy friends. Like, I believe the unity within men is very, very important, right? I have a lot of guy friends. And you have your friends that are dominating guy friends. You have your guys that are passive. You have your guys that are just kind of hanging around just for the ride, right? Well, my entire group of guy friends are all on testosterone, and their confidence level, okay, because most of them started testosterone with me. Their confidence levels are completely different than most men off of testosterone.
Yeah.
There's something that happens to you when you take testosterone to where you just feel like you have that edge, right? So as far as depression and things like that, I can't talk too much on it. Mel might have a little bit more experience. I've never been in deep depression, other than the fact there was one point to where I was definitely, but I did take hormones. It came right off of it. It was, years back, but I can just tell you your confidence level. You see a guy in his shell prior to being on testosterone, and then slowly during that period of when the testosterone starting to work, he's just coming out of his shell, and before you know it, he's just a different person. So I guess it could be a very similar thing with the depression. I know that that depression suppresses your testosterone. I know for a fact that happens because it's trauma, right? So anything related is suppressing testosterone. But Mel, you got something there for me or what?
Yeah, I mean, it does go hand in hand. You get a guy that's, and I'm going to put anxiety in here too, because a lot of people suffer from that right now. You got a guy that's anxious. You got a guy that's depressed. His hormone levels, he comes back at 200 on his overall blood, draw for overall testosterone. He's barely got any free running through the body. We'll get into all the different aspects of the testosterone, but that brain fog, that not being able to perform with his significant other, that starts weighing you down even more, and that's what a lot of patients will come to me and say, like, man, it bothers us, man. I love my wife, but I can't be sexually with her because I can't perform. And I'm like, yeah, man, I get it. Like, I understand what you're saying. That brings on its own set of depressions issues, So I think it all goes hand in hand. I mean, testosterone is what drives us as men. That's the driving force. That's the fuel in the tank. I tell everybody, when you take them three hormones, that testosterone, that estradiol, with estrogen, you guys, in the blood, and the FSH and LH, which is from our testicles, which that's the hormones of men. When you put them in that perfect triangle, I call it the Bermuda Triangle, man, it changes your life around. And we've seen it so many times. I'm dealing with, like you, Nick, ex-military guys, veterans and stuff that, they've been going to the VA for a long time and they just been kind of getting nowhere in a bad way. I have a lot of military guys from around my area, from my gym, that are patients at Core Medical. And they're like, wow, man, we've been going to the VA for so many years. And now we hooked up with you guys and it's just like a magic wand. And I'm like, it's your hormones. It's very simple. So that all goes hand in hand, and I'm not saying that nobody is going to fight, not going to have depression that has picture perfect hormones like us. Depression sets in a different way on everybody, but you're definitely 10 times going to feel worse when you do have that anxiety and depression and your hormones are tanked. Then that's where a lot of people become the suicidal. That, like you said, Nick, that brain fog and that not feeling good and that not having that energy as a man, as a young man and stuff like that. That's what's worse than that. You can't even enjoy your hours of your day,
Right.
So,
and that's kind of, that was my experience. It was the brain fog, and then feeling, life had happened. And those that have read my book understand this, but as soon as I went on TRT and a couple other things, it was like all that just kind of faded away. And it was like, I had a very clear picture. I wasn't depressed. I was focused. I was confident again. I felt like me again. And I knew exactly the direction that I needed to go in my life. Well, at least I thought I had a direction.
Yeah.
That journey took me to some other places, but I was moving again instead of just being stagnant, sitting on the couch waiting for life to end.
So, you guys, I'm sitting here kind of taking this all in, and it's pretty interesting. So we've come up with directly and indirectly the fact that, like, no testosterone, you're more late, you can't get out of bed, brain's fogged, sex drives down, body composition probably isn't that great.
Nope.
Right?
Yep.
Because you're not exercising. These things are very, very not curable right off the bat, but you're going in the right direction by adding testosterone. So what I'm sitting here thinking is basically like, being semi-athletic, being out there, having that energy is the start to all of this, is the start to fixing all of these symptoms. And testosterone, to me, like we said before, you don't have to be a gym fanatic to go in to start testosterone. Nick's interesting. I've been watching his transformation, and it's a really good one.
Yeah.
because most people that are doing a transformation would have hit the milestones Nick hit 6 months ago and stopped, right? Because it's such a huge transformation, right? But we can learn a lot from this transformation because Nick has taken it even deeper than he had to. People would have given him all the applause that he wanted or that his audience wanted. He didn't probably do it for him as much as his audience, right? And he's transformed so much. And now he's like really digging in to make his first picture and his second picture look even worse than what the third picture is going to be. So like you can really see that. So it's testosterone and hormones has actually made him really compete against himself and change his life. And
it's funny you say that because we've been talking about some competing of some things in the future, and that's all because like I'm becoming more athletic. My joints are feeling better. My inflammation is down. You know, I'm not as old as you two old farts, so I got some left in the tank here. So there's some things that I want to do with.
Be careful, I'll make it go away real quick. All right.
No. Like that picture of Josh's face when you said, what'd you say the last webinar? You're like, hey, Sid, I don't think this is doing anything. You're like, okay, just stop.
Yeah, no.
And I freeze framed.
I don't think these hormones are working. I'm like, all right, man, just stop taking.
Just stop.
Yeah.
But we are talking about some competition, taking things to the next level. And it's because I'm feeling so much more athletic. My joints are not hurting. I'm able to move better. I'm able to sleep better, feel better. So I'm like, yeah, I can turn the volume up on this a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I mean, the truth is I mean, for to go back on what you said, I just jumped out of the back of my pickup truck on Sunday, getting out of the woods, getting some corn out. I jumped out and I landed. I'm like, wow, that landing did not feel the same as it did like 3 years ago, bro. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, you start getting there. But, you know, hormones, taking them right, exercising, making sure everything else is on point. The longevity of being able to do things is so much more. Like, I mean, it's just, if you weren't on hormones, that athletic career is ending definitely in your mid-30s.
Oh, yeah.
Bottom line.
Let's go to all the athletes, you know, with me running the IFBB and NPC. So all the athletes I get that come in and stuff, you know, and, you know, they're in their 40s, maybe 50 like me. And they say, man, Mel, we're eating clean. And I know they are. We're doing our cardio. We're training. I can't lose that body fat in the center. You know, the brain fog goes hand in hand with all that low hormones. But when they're on, I'm talking about the physical part, or a woman comes in and I know she's telling me the truth because she was a member at my gym and I'm watching her eat salads out of a Tupperware bowl. And I know she's doing the right thing. And I'm eating ice creams and pizza and I'm lean, you know, watching them, that hormone level change on them and men, the testosterone, you know, the more testosterone in the body, more you're going to have lean muscle tissue.
More anabolic you are.
More anabolic. You keep that estradiol down into that perfect range where that range is at, you know, from the 10 to 44. We say the sweet spot is in the 20s and 30s for a man and the estradiol. So then now you're reducing that body fat, you know, and it's for on a athletic side, it's a must. You can't be in a gym training. You can't be trying to diet and focus and everything like that when your hormones are flip-flop the other way around, you know? And
so go ahead.
And that's what these conventional doctors don't get. And hence, you know, listen, Cindy knows I have a lot of good friends that are doctors and they're very smart. And you know what they do? They send me their patients. They tell them, listen, we're not hormone experts. So honestly, call my boy up, Mel. He's going to direct you in the right way. I'm going to look after everything else. And we have to I send a lot of patients over to the docs too, because like you said, Nick, we'll have patients come in and they'll have crazy lipids. Their cholesterols are sky high. Their HDLs are tanked. Their LDL, the bad is the LDL. The HDL is the good. The HDL is low. The bad LDL is high. The triglycerides, the fat in the blood's crazy high. Or their A1C. I have a lot of patients that we call back on the phone and the doctor says, listen, yes, you're a hormone candidate for sure. But man, you got a prostate problem. You got high A1C sugar. You got this, you got that. So I return the favor and I give the local people or wherever I got docs in Chicago, I say, hey, go see my doc. Go see the doc and he's going to get you going on this. We need your prostate level low and stuff like that. So it goes hand in hand. You know, I like to see that the conventional doctors that will take a patient, not just tell them, all right, Nick, here's some Cialis, and I'm going to give you some Ativan for your mood or whatever that stuff's called, if I'm saying it right. Here you go. Here's your scripts for that. Don't worry about nothing else. You got to take. I'm 51 years old. My wife would throw me out of the house if a Cialis fell in this house. I would be running. She can't hide from me now at 51, and I'm just on testosterone. So, I talk to these guys.
I just take it because it makes it so much more fun, Mel.
Yeah, no, I know. He's a little bit crazier. He's a little bit of a maniac, but I tell everybody I don't have to, but I was used to listen. I'm not going to lie. I came back in the day and my blood levels were in the 3,000s, and not 950, 3,000. So I'm used to that high testosterone hormone level. So I just tell these guys when they come in, man, you're not going to need that prescription of Cialis anymore. Get your hormones. Let us get your hormones correct, and I guarantee you're not going to need that. And they're just amazed at the way it makes them feel and the difference it is.
So let's get to the first 10 weeks. So inpatient, you get the questionnaire. We get a questionnaire. You go through with the
waivers, blood work, physical.
Yeah, but you talk to a PA, right? You have a PA there.
Yeah. So the way we have it structured here at Core is we have a chief of medicine.
Yep.
And then at all of our locations, or depending on what area of the country you're in and that doctor is licensed in, you'll speak with that doctor's extender, their PA or nurse practitioner.
Right.
I've had, multiple doctors in one company, typically, like we spoke about before, typically doesn't work that well. So now we've used one chief of medicine and 4 or 5 PAs that we have on board right now. So that PA will do a Skype visit, very similar to a Zoom call with you through our telemedicine portal. They'll get all your information, go over your blood work, and kind of diagnose and put together a protocol for you that's tailor-made for your needs.
Based off your individual person.
I like to tell them like this. So once the patient comes in, say I'm done talking to them and I hand them off to our patient coordinators who are in the office, and I'd say they dot the I's and cross the T's. They are going to send them to their local lab corp for the blood work. Okay. So wherever you live in the United States, you got a lab corp, everything right in your backyard. You go to your local lab corp. Usually, COVID's been a little rough, but usually within about 48 hours, 3 days at tops, the doctor's teams are getting that blood work back.
If LabCorp is 24 to 48 hours. If it's Quest, it's 5 to 7 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're local to one of my practices, it's 24 hours.
Yeah. If you can come in the office. Yeah. So once they get that blood work back and they did their Zoom call and they, went over everything with the person and all that's done with the PA, then the doctor's teams are looking over and you're going to get that phone call and they're going to go over with you where, open up your app or look at your email and they're going to go over what you're lacking and what you're needing. So when they make them recommendations, they're going to say, okay, Nick, listen, you need testosterone therapy. You need an anastrozole, which is the anti-estrogen pills, and you need the HCG for the FSH and LH in the testicles, which is a little injection shot in the stomach. So them 3, of course, make up hormone replacement. Some people might need some more things. What we see constantly is vitamin D levels. Vitamin D levels are tanked in everybody, right?
Well, that's nationwide.
Right. And nobody sits out in the sun unless you're Mel Chansey, of course, right? But here's what I tell people.
All day in the pool.
Yeah. It's very important because people don't know, man, with a tanked vitamin D level, boy, are you missing a lot of energy.
Yep.
Not only for your immune system, but you're missing out on a boatload of energy. People are shocked when they go on a little bit of injectable vitamin D from our company with their testosterone. They use it in one shot, and all of a sudden their vitamin D gets to the top end of that range. They're like, wow, Mel, you weren't kidding. We didn't think vitamin D was that important. Yes, it's great. That's why the sun, it's great for energy. How many times have you been blue and been depressed? Like, oh, man. And then all of a sudden the sun comes out and you're out in the sun and you're like, man, I'm feeling good, man. That's the vitamin D, So there's other things that, of course, the doctors and are recommending, especially if things are off. But once you get the recommendation, we say the meds shipped to your house right from the pharmacy. Everything you need from the syringes to everything's included for your 10-week protocol. You got the meds usually 24, 48 hours tops, Sydney, right? I mean, COVID's COVID got a little crazy a little bit with a lot of the shipping. We see the mail, but still you got the meds. Once you say yes, and and they slide your card for whatever the cost is. You have them meds in 24, 48 hours. You're starting your protocol and you're on your way to feeling. So I really tell the patient, once I'm done with them and pass them off to that patient coordinator and he gets off his rear end and goes and gets that blood work done right away, it's fast because the rest is on us. It's getting that person to go get that blood work done. I mean, people are sometimes so damn lazy. I mean, you get patients that come in and they pay their $2.99 sign up and everything, go get the blood work done, and then they sit on it. I'll call them a week later, say, guys, did you go in yet? No, I mean, come on, man, you called me, you're feeling shitty. We got to get your blood in, So it's fast. Once your part's over with and it's on us, it's very expedited,
So okay. So they get their stuff, they do that whole process, they get their stuff, they take their first shot. What happens then, Sydney?
So, there's 3 parts I just want to. So if your testosterone, your anastrozole, HCG was a medication we've been using for the last 30 years in hormone replacement therapy. Now the FDA has come in like they did with growth hormone. I want to just touch on this real quick. And they've gotten rid of HCG because guess who's not making enough money on it anymore because it's generic, big pharma, big shock. So they wiped that out off the face of the earth. You can only buy brand HCG now because generic has taken over the market because it's the same exact thing for a tenth of the price. Now you want 10 weeks of HCG. It's $499 for 10 weeks of HCG. So compared to our $100,
yeah.
So or less actually. So now that I've beaten the system and compounded a drug called gonadotropin, works almost identical. It's just more aggressive with the LH than it is with the FSH. So it works great. I've been using it. Good news is it comes pre-mixed, so you don't have to mix anything anymore with the HCG. So for all intents and purposes, you get your test, your anastrozole, your HCG, or gonadotropin, and you're going to start that protocol. The protocol is going to could be 1 shot a week, could be a half a cc twice a week, once a week, a half a cc twice a week, and then your estradiol, depending on how high your estrogen levels are, if your body's converting or not. And then you have your gonadotropin or your HCG for your LH and FSH, which stimulate the volume of semen, the testicular atrophy, things like that nature, cosmetic stuff to keep your volume down there and things like that. So we like to start everyone off really with basic therapy. That's my favorite thing to do. If you come through the door, $350 to $550 is really what basic therapy is. $35 to $55 a week really is what we try to bring it down to. The vets get a special deal. Those signups $199, not $299, and they get some additional discount. Active duty, first responders, vets, and then basically after that 10 weeks, we see how they're doing. And a lot of people need their peptides, Cialis, Viagra. I'd say 80% of our patients are buying those as well. The peptides are just huge. The peptides really allow you to hammer down on a lot of cosmetic stuff, weight loss, AOD, IGF, all the stuff that really can help your body composition really change. The peptides can help with sleep enhancement, help with sexual activity, PT141, things like that. So we have about 140 different meds that we offer, but in the beginning, really like to stay to that testosterone, HCG, gonadotropin, anastrozole, and vitamin D3. Those are our real go-to in the first 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So you say I take it on a Sunday. When am I going to feel something?
So I like to Mel talks to a lot more patients than I do. I like to tell everyone you're about 3 weeks before you're really going to see the magic happen. Now, people, for instance, Mel gave a great example. If someone comes in and their estradiol is through the roof and their testosterone is suppressed, as soon as they take that estrogen blocker, right off the bat, they're feeling better. I've cried at commercials before. I've legitimately cried at freaking commercials before. I was crying at The Voice with my daughter because some guy won and was hugging his mother and father. They were like low-income housing. I'm sitting there crying. Meanwhile, I'm in the woods gutting animals, shooting animals, have no remorse for some of the stuff going on in the country right now, but I'm crying over this commercial. And my girl looks at me, she's like, "Are you fucking crying?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I went in and I took fucking 2 milligrams of anastrozole. I'm like, and within 48 hours, I'm not crying anymore. It's crazy. it's a real thing, dude. Like if you're crying over those commercials with the dogs that are abandoned, you probably need HRT. Like it's a true story.
So if I tear up while watching Disney movies, then
call
Nick. Yeah, you're a little too high.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But Nick, going back to that and Sid hit it right on the head. You're right. If you get a patient that comes in, everybody's different, of course, in their blood. You get a patient that come in and his overall testosterone's in the 5s. The estradiol is in place for right now, so he doesn't have high estradiol. His FSH and LH are just at the normal side of low or something like that. You put him on the therapy, and Sydney's right. 2 weeks, you're starting to really feel a little bit different because you're not moving much. It's not a big dramatic change. But I don't see too many patients like that. And I deal with a lot. Yeah, Sydney knows a lot. I bring a lot in. I don't see them. When my patients come to me, it's a big difference. I get a guy that's estradiol's in, the lower hundreds, and 44 is the top of the range. It's a big difference. He's got a lot of estrogen in the bloodstream. So like Sid said, bam, when he takes that anastrozole, which is the medication for the anti-estrogen, he takes that pill. They're calling me 5-6 days later, like, what is going on here? This is insane. So, so all patients have different, expectations from where they're at, but all of them are going to be feeling, I don't even say 3 weeks. I've never heard anybody say outside of like, the 10, 12, 14 days, even if it's not that much of a change, because it's working right now. Even if you bring your testosterone up from 500 to that 950 range, look at the point difference that we're at. That's just crazy.
I could tell, and maybe this is because I've been on it, but when I came off for the baby, then I went back on it. And I'm not 100% like the half-life of Test C, but within 3 days, I started to feel normal again. And that could have been because, like you said, it could have been because of that anti-estradiol and bringing my estrogen down. But within 3 days, if I take it on a Sunday, I took it on a Sunday. By Wednesday, I started to feel more like myself.
Yeah.
So you guys have to take this into consideration too. When you have a patient that has they're younger, okay, and they have an elevated testosterone of 500, let's just say. If a guy comes through the office and he's 28 years old and his testosterone is 450 and 500, we have a problem here. If a guy's 45, not so much of a problem, right?
Right.
But coming through the door for me, because I know once you put that in your butt, that needle in your butt, and I'm not going to sound like a dick, that's why I'm successful, because of how good it works, right? Yep. You are married to Core Medical for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's the bottom line.
Sidney, I don't know if you remember, when I was 31, I was a 190, I believe.
Yeah. That's what we talked about before.
Yeah. That's tanked.
And the thing is that here it is though. So when a 28-year-old comes through the door, and this is very important, I'm not really that excited about giving them testosterone. I'm not that excited about it. So we start with HCG and anostrozole, or gonadotropin and clomiphene, or clomiphene and anostrozole, depending on what that patient needs, to see if we can jumpstart that LH and the FSH to get them to that 750, 800 number, push them through for another 2 years, especially if they haven't had a child.
And what those two medications do, right, is that's basically stimulating the testicles to produce, in layman's terms, is stimulating the testicles to produce its natural testosterone.
Exactly. So it's a non-synthetic change to your body. So your LH and your FSH hormone are increasing. Your clomiphene citrate is doing the same thing as the HCG, but we're hitting it hard, and we're trying to stimulate your natural production.
Like Sid's saying, in a perfect world, and a 28-year-old youngster, in a perfect world, that will jumpstart that overall testosterone and bring him up to that 650, 750, 800, whatever it might bring, and hold him there. And then all of a sudden he can go off them medications and stay there. But
I'm talking about without taking testosterone ever.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. In a perfect world, what did you say?
Come off those meds and he stays there. Very. Typically, they have to stay on the HCG at least.
Yes. But in today's world, with everything being pumped full of hormones, our foods, that's why we're seeing kids. I mean, come on, I'm 50. You couldn't go to a doctor back in the day and say, if your testosterone wasn't, 6, 7, 800 or wherever, the range was back then, you had a pituitary problem. So then they looked deeper into what was going on. You had a medical problem. Nowadays, you don't. You have a problem because the foods are so jammed full with estrogen. We're seeing 25-year-old, young men coming in with estradiol's in the hundreds and testosterone's of 80. And they're like, what is going on? I've never touched this stuff. And they don't have a pituitary problem. So, what Sid's saying, you get that youngster coming in, he doesn't want to just give them the testosterone right off the bat, because a percentage of people, you will be able to bring them back to normal. And then they don't need the synthetic.
We're trying to get them into their 30s, especially if they haven't had a child yet. It does make it easier. It doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it easier. And our doctors are about, prolonging putting someone on test until they really, really need it. I'm not the guy you call up and just get testosterone. I'm going to make that super clear. We have a lot of turn downs. Unfortunately, the majority of Nick's audience have been through a lot of trauma, and we've barely had any turn downs. They freaking are screwed up. I mean, their bodies are screwed up. Mel's audience too. I mean, a lot of those guys have abused themselves. I mean, I get it, but there are still a group of people that you can therapeutically get them back to where they need to be. So with that being said, once you're on even basic TRT, a lot of times we give you that HCG, we give you that estrogen blocker. The proteins haven't bound onto the cell from the testosterone first, the cells yet, but you're still feeling 100 times better because the HCG stimulates your sex drive just like testosterone does.
Yeah.
So all that type of stuff. And when you're performing well with your significant other and you're not performing well with your significant other, it takes a toll on your entire fucking life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we could probably all, I've gone through it personally, and it makes me like, it was the point where I was super depressed.
Yeah.
And it's because I just didn't know any better, and I just came off testosterone because I thought I could. Yep. And I was in the dirt.
You pulled a Josh.
I pulled a Josh. We should get a T-shirt that's got a syringe on it that says "Don't pull a Josh."
You'd love that.
Yeah, you can. And that's what I tell the patients when they ask me. I said, listen, this is your protocol. So in a year's time, on a 10-week, the scripts renew themselves when you renew, every 10 weeks, our patients ordering 5.4 times, I think to be exact, right? 5 times a year.
5.5 times a year, yeah. Yep.
5.5 times a year. So this is what I tell them. I go, when you go off, you know what's going to happen. That's like me. I have to take a cholesterol med, and I tried everything to keep my cholesterols in normal, but I can't. It just runs in my family. I have to take that cholesterol medication. When I go off it, what's happening? I'm going right back to the LDL high, the HDL low, the whole 9 yards. That's what I tell the patients. This ain't cycles, guys. Get that out of your mind. This ain't your cycle. Oh, how many weeks do I got to run it for? Until you don't feel like feeling great again.
Yeah, like you're going into your 70s or to your casket, one of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. I mean, I got guys around me. Do you know who I work for? Jim Mannion, 76 years old. The guy runs around crazy. His hormone levels are picture perfect. He's in great shape. He's still so active running the IFBB and NPC.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he could legitimately probably go through, not the same weight, but get through your workout with you, Nick. It's unbelievable, this guy. My fiance's dad's the same way, Mark Angle, Kurt's brother. It's crazy. This guy's like in his basement in Pittsburgh in his late 60s, leg extensions, Aerodyne bike, assault bike, rower. I'm like, dude, what are you doing to yourself? That's just what he does. He can do it. He's a beast. And he's not abusing anything. He's just in the right place. It's crazy. Hey, while we're on this subject, before we wrap it up or go towards the end of it, Nick has a really, really good, and he kind of touched on it already. He's kind of got a really good explanation of estrogen dominance, which I know you wanted to touch on, Nick.
I think we could do a whole video on that in America. And Mel, I think that would be a great panel. Just like the estrogen situation. You've touched on it, but the whole estrogen situation and what you can do lifestyle wise to kind of get away from it. I think it could be a completely separate video.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Maybe the two of you guys could do a 30-minute on that here in the next.
I'm big on that because I know the effects of it. Being the former, pro bodybuilder and wrestler and stuff. Listen, back in the day, we'd shut our estrogen down to zero. we would take a milligram of anastrozole, which is the Arimidex, every day. That's insane. That's a lot of anti-estrogen. So we'd go to 0 because we wanted to be peeled on them stages, no body fat and everything. Our joints killed us. We were up on stage barely able to pose because you need some fat in your body, of course, for your joints and your connective tissues and stuff. But, so I really understand the importance of a balanced estrogen, not crazy like that where I'm saying I'm shutting it up. But I don't care if you got an overall testosterone at picture perfect, what we call for right now, 950. If that estradiol, that estrogen is not in that 10 to 44 range and you start getting up into the 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, you're taking away from the feeling of that overall testosterone. You're pulling it down was what I tell patients. So Nick, we could do a whole thing on it. I think we should, because it's very important to make sure as men that estradiol in your bloodstream is, estrogen is in the picture perfect range. And that's going to make you feel so much better. Even if you took a patient right now, and he came back and he was 300, which is very low, as you know, but the estradiol was sky high. Like Sid said, even if we said, okay, we're not going to give him testosterone, we're just going to do this test right now. And we're going to just get your estradiol back down in that perfect range. What a difference he's going to feel like.
Yeah.
Just from the anti-estrogen, now we're not even throwing in the testosterone or the gonadotropin stuff. So,
and that's going to happen fast. Yeah.
Very fast.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So 10 weeks. So in 3 weeks, you're really going to feel the full effects. Within a few days of taking HCG and the anti-E, you're going to really start feeling it. And then 10 weeks, you're going to be hooked for life.
Yes. Yeah. I tell people, I said, you're not going to want to come off for the small price that you're paying when you break it down a week and you're figuring dose dependent. You're somewhere, this is what I tell my patients, you're somewhere in between $40-$45 a week, somewhere right in that time, just for 3 medications, for the testosterone, the anastrozole,
and don't get me started like, well, it's expensive, I can't afford it. And it's like, meanwhile, you got 45 different internet subscriptions to watch TV. You spend a bunch of bullshit, smack-a-cock lattes and mocha choca bullshits at Starbucks and, every day. Like,
I tell my patients, if a lot of people come in and they're on a fixed budget. I get it. Me too. That's it. I'm the frugal as you could be. You cut out one meal, cut out a Chipotle for the week, make your meal at home and stuff. For $40 to $45, you're going to want to feel better. I don't know patients. I don't have patients that come over and start the process. And then after 10 weeks go, we're going to quit. Because
you find a way. Once you start, you find a way, right?
Invest. And that's what I tell everybody that follows me is like, invest in yourself, invest something that's going to give you an ROI. And I just did that video about time in your week. But like, if you're going to spend money, you're going to do something that needs to give you a return. This is exactly what gives you a return.
You're right. You're investing in yourself, but you're investing in your audience as well. You're investing in your circle. You're investing in your family.
In your relationships.
Partners, all your relationships. Because our goal, right? My goal is with my business partner or partners is to outwork them. I want to be the guy that hands them the biggest check.
Outwork everyone.
So I want to be the guy to my business partner and say, hey, listen, guess what? I made the company the most money this month. Here you go. Or that's what I want to do. And I can do that way better being on hormones. You take that away from me, I'm a loser. And that's the bottom line. So yeah, and guys, please, I own the place. Okay. If you call and you can't afford it, DM me. I'll figure out a way to make it work for you for the first 10 weeks so you can see the light and figure out how to cut your costs so that you can afford it. I'll personally help you. So please don't call because you don't think you can afford it. Call me if you can't afford it after speaking. If you're a veteran, it's $199 to sign up and about $35 a week. Okay. And if it's $35 to $45 a week. So
before we get, because we got some Labor Days, but before we get to that, Mel, you, and I can edit it out if I can't say it, but you've got something big happening with $7. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Follow this guy. So follow this guy on IG and Facebook because he's got some big things happening. And I'll let you say whatever you want to say.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I won't not going to let the cat fully out of the bag, but of course we know is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, $7 Production is the production company with him and Danny Garcia and Hiram Garcia. And so we're sitting down and to tell my life story now. And this has been in the works for, God, it'll be 2 years this Thanksgiving. And, the cool part of it is how everything comes together. I like to say how God's plan and how he has this perfect fit for everything. Because one of the guys that is on the project with us, who is who I've always liked as an actor, and I got to meet him because he's actually Sydney's brother-in-law, is John Bernthal. So I don't know if people know John Bernthal, the Punisher, John Bernthal. He was in Shot Caller. He was in Snitch with Dwayne Johnson. Very great actor. And, so he is part of this project that we're doing with $7. And so I'll leave it there. I won't blow too much of it. I want to leave the surprise for when it's really happening. But yeah, that's
they're going to be tuning in to see me play myself. Is really what the audience is going to be doing.
Who could play you?
John Bernthal, he's no big deal,
But I gotta tell you something. So you turned me on to this series on Netflix called Kingdom. Nick, you seen it yet?
No.
Watch it. So Yellowstone stopped for us. We were Yellowstone.
Other than the fighting scenes, Nip, because you've been in an MMA gym before, because they're just terrible. The fighting scenes are just terrible. The plot and the drama is like insane, dude. You'll love it, bro. I fast forward when they're fighting. I just fast forward.
I'm binge watching it now. But there's an actor in there, the character that he plays. He's the oldest brother, and I'm losing his name right now. What is it?
Kurt. It's Kurt or Keith, the redhead.
The craziest one.
Yeah, he's the best, bro. He's the best. Yeah.
That's you.
That's not me.
That is you. He's nuts. He's all over the place. He's always doing this stuff. He's an insane fighter. He's got crazy energy. He's just the bizarrest of the bizarre. I said to Melissa the other day, that's Sid right there. Look at him. And she started laughing. He's just full of energy, man.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely embodied that energy. That kid's an amazing actor, though.
He's great. This is a good series. You got to watch it, Nick. You're going to really like it.
I'm in. Yellowstone's over, so we're sad.
I know. That shit's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Nick, let it to the third episode before you get frustrated, because the first one's a little slow, but it gets really, really, really good.
It's where my degree sits. I'm in for a good story.
Yeah, it's so funny. As we get older, this is like the big deal in our life. Now that I go back and forth on fucking shows on Netflix, it's like, oh my God, did you see that? No, it's changed quite a bit from the last decade of my life.
Sure it has, man.
We're spending a lot of couch time now with this little one, so it's
awesome. By the way, congratulations, man.
Yeah. So Labor Day, we've got some things working with Core. What are we doing for Labor Day?
So, all right, guys. So for those veterans out there, any order that you guys place, basic therapy order, $350 to $400, you're gonna get a free bottle of glutathione. It's a medication that I turned Nick onto about 10 months ago. Loves it.
I'm a believer, man. I think every single veteran that fought in Iraq and Afghanistan or spending time in the Middle East needs to run that medication a few times a year.
Yep. So we require for liver enzymes, antioxidants, a super antioxidant. We require all our patients to do it once a year at least, because it's an overall health thing, cleans out the liver, and it's just the most
good for all the organs.
Good for all the organs.
The biggest thing that I noticed is about 8 years after Iraq, I started having respiratory issues. And there's a big thing that's going on about that right now. Within running that medication within a week, it was the first time that I could breathe like the way I felt like I should breathe. In 8 years, it was wild.
Yeah, it drives a lot more oxygen to the blood, a lot more. Mm-hmm. All my fighters, they all take it. We do that. We use a glutathione push. When I see you, we're actually taking we start off and you have to baby step it, or it feels like you took a Percocet. You're completely mangled because it's just flushing everything out of your body, and it's aggressive. People who work in gas stations will put on a lot of makeup and they take that drug. They're just because their body's so full of toxins that they're just completely out of it for a while. So we'll be giving away a free bottle of that to all veterans, first responders, and active duty for the amount of time that we're running the special. I don't remember the dates, but Nick will get with Kaylin and it'll be on the post here.
Yep.
And then starting the same exact time, if you're a patient, existing patient, or you want to be a new patient, you sign up, you'll have, for every $500 you spend, you get $100 off your next order. And every 1,000 you spend, which I have a lot of patients, believe it or not, that spend a few thousand each order because they're buying quite a bit of stuff, they'll get $250 off their next order. So it's a credit moving forward, just to kind of, say thank you to everybody. The glutathione's for veterans only, first responders, and active duty. And the other special is going to be for everyone across the board. Signups as well will be, I'm going to do something special just for this call. The Tuesday after Labor Day, all first responders and veterans that call and say Nick's name, okay, we'll be able to get this posted before then, will be $149 sign up. So you save $50 on the sign up.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sid.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very cool.
Name drop me.
Name drop. Mic drop. Boys, it's been a pleasure. I got to mosey on. Thank you guys so much, Nick. Congrats
thank you
on the
guys.
baby again. Hey, real quick, how's that baby bag?
I get compliments everywhere. It's the tactical diaper bag. Is that what it's called? The actual name? Yeah. Tactical diaper.
Have you compartment, like the bulletproof vest portion of it, you put the baby in?
So not only that, I found out the sleeve for it is actually that they sell 3A armor that fits inside there. So you can put 3A armor in there. So if you're out and about,
The plate carrier.
shit goes sideways, you can use it to block. I'm like, I'm in. I'm gonna have to go get that. I'm gonna have to go get that panel.
I think I got that panel lying around at the house. That's awesome, man. That's cool. Send me a picture of that when it's all done up. But,
It's all built. That's
Mel.
my go-to bag now.
Good. Mel, thanks, bro. I appreciate. I know you're super busy too with all that's going on, and this is pretty cool, man. Not that we got to go over all this stuff, but this is actually the first place that Mel has legitimately publicized on social media that he's got this big project going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what'll
right
be really cool is when we get you back on here once it's all done and he gets to interview you on that. That'll be pretty dope.
Yeah, looking forward to it, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks so much for your time.
Much love, guys. Nick, Sid, see you guys.
See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
So that was the video, guys. I hope you guys got something out of it. Life-changing for those that need it. And unfortunately, in these days, more people need it than not. Do not be the guy that's just suffering alone. At a minimum, as I said, get your blood tested. Let's see what it says and then go from there. All the deals are below. Go follow Mel Chansey. That is going to be a huge thing coming. Go follow Sid. And you said it right there. If you can't afford it, DM him. You guys will work something out. It's all about being the best version of yourself that you can be where you're currently at. You guys know the deal. Never quit, never surrender, always forward. Stay subscribed, hit that bell, and we'll see you guys in the next video.